Thanks for having me here. This is a great opportunity to talk about what Adobe is doing in this space. And we could have gone two ways about this talk. One was to take you through the lifetime of a generative AI model and how it got integrated into a product and what value it's providing to our users. But we have multiple versions of these. So I wanted to take the second path and tell you about how we are accelerating and how we're building a scalable platform at Adobe to accelerate innovation in the AI space and bring it to the customers through multiple surfaces of Adobe products. Adobe has three main lines of business. One is in the document cloud with PDFs and tools that help you consume PDF information and generate PDF information. Second one, probably the most known one, is in the creative space with products like Photoshop and Premiere. And then the third one is in the marketing space. Across all these products, Adobe has quite a bit of end-to-end systems where we expose AI models and generative AI models as well. And mind you, Adobe is an relatively old company, right? It has went through multiple different tectonic shifts in the history of its existence. And the latest one that it's going through is the AI shift. And it was critical for Adobe to accelerate and embrace AI and integrate it in all of its lines of products. And that's what we are doing. And that's it started with the first version of an image-to-text model that was launched last year in March. It was super fast, and it got to the customers and the end users quite relatively fast, given how the company was evolving with its Photoshop and Premiere type of products. So I'm going to give you a quick preview about what you can do today with text-to-image and a few other tools in Adobe products.
Future looks like wow. Oh wow. It's like wow. Yeah. Future looks like wow. Oh wow. And it starts right now. Yeah. Future looks like wow. Go and get it, go and get it, go and get it, go. Go and get it, go and get it, go and get it, go. Go and get it, go and get it, go and get it, go. It's coming up right now, and it's looking like how? Wow. Wow. The future looks like wow, and it starts right now. It's like wow, introduce ya. It's a brand new future. Wow.
Thank you. Our marketing folks tell me this is the best time to get off the stage because this is the high point. But being the geek engineer, I'm going to keep going. So let's see how bad I do. So there is a big iceberg when you go to the real world applications like Vivek was just mentioning to build real products and real value from any generative AI model, right? And we look at this at really four layers at Adobe. We have partners like Weights and Biases, AWS, NVIDIA, and a few others at our partnership level. We actually use Adobe's commercially viable data on the data layer, and then we build models ourselves. So we have multiple models that we build from scratch, generative AI models and other ML models. And then we integrate these into the applications in Adobe product lines ourselves as well. So this is how we create the value chain. This is how we look at the value. And today, if you look at the text-to-image model that I was talking to you about, it has powered 7 billion image generations so far. This is across our Firefly landing page on adobe.com, as well as Photoshop and a few other applications like Illustrator using the model in the backend as well. So real customer value is being generated today. And how we structure ourselves to get there and to innovate and to integrate into products is through what we call the AI superhighway. And basically it starts with all the data that we have in Adobe product repositories that are commercially viable. We then take these through two different parts of the platform. One is our training platform, one is our data platform. And we have a research team, Adobe research team. This is hundreds of researchers that work on different areas and with different modalities. We also have an applied research team that basically takes some of these promising initial explorations from the research team and then starts scaling them up. Quite large training schedules with hundreds of millions of data and hundreds of millions of hours of training. So this then gets rolled into our generative AI services, and these services are primarily in the cloud that then gets integrated into our products as the product services. So I'm going to give a few details about this, but in the baking of that text-to-image model that you have seen, Adobe actually went through a really fast iteration of growth in increasing its training platform and the size of the platform, right? It started a year before that model was actually launched last year. And basically throughout different sets of growth, right before the end of last year, we have gone through a phase of at least 50 times increase in our GPUs that are dedicated to only training, right? This is only the training side, ML training with high-end GPUs. We integrated multiple different products in order to be able to do distributed training, experiment tracking through weights and biases, and of course on the inference side, the number of GPUs that we use is even larger than the training side. So I'm going to talk about the infrastructure a little bit. We do build on top of AWS, and this, we think, is one of the primary reasons why we were able to move very fast, because scaling, at least the hardware side of the infrastructure, was not really a problem for us other than working with this partner. We then build, on top of this hardware layer on AWS, we build the different layers of the platform, either ourselves or with partnering through partners like Weights and Biases. So in each of these boxes, there are multiple partners that we opportunistically use and partner with. Weights and Biases is our absolute best choice for experiment tracking. It's really for us, when I look at it as a customer, and then when I'm training or when my teams are training models, we do see that product market fit, because as customers, we get delighted day in and day out. And actually I believe a few weeks ago, if I'm not wrong, we ended up having to call Weights and Biases and increase our enterprise solutions instances because we're using it quite a bit, probably more than the average customer. So the way our training works is we have a bunch of data sources. This is primarily Adobe stock data where videos and images come from. And we also license third-party imagery and other media data. This gets into our training, distributed training, multi-tenant training architecture. And the reason that that's very important for us is because we have a large base of researchers, and I'll show you a few snapshots of how different sizes of jobs are running on that platform on day in and day out. So it's really important to have a multi-tenant scheduling system that's available to optimize GPU utilization. We do look at utilization, especially on the large side of the jobs, because it's really important to get the efficiencies and optimizations in before you start spending tens of thousands of dollars potentially, right, every day training large models at large scale. So we do have quite a bit of analytics that are running real time or close to real time to be able to monitor this. Just to give you a snapshot of what we are talking about, just only on the training side, We have over 15,000 GPUs. These are A100s and H100s primarily. We have 500 or more active users daily, and a large number of daily jobs as well. So when we look at single node, this is all on the same platform, tapping into the same hardware resources, right? When we look at single node jobs, primarily what you will see is these are interactive sessions where researchers are developing or debugging, or that's for their day-to-day usage. And this is our distribution from a 15-day period, very recent 15-day period. When you look at the multi-node jobs, you also see a large scale of different types of jobs. And we actually go quite a bit. In 15 days, there's already 10 to 20 jobs that go above the range of 512 GPUs. So quite large scale of production, while also experimentation is going on single GPUs or single nodes as well. I want to talk about data a little bit, and specifically how we're approaching generative AI today. For models that we train at Adobe ourselves, we are choosing a commercially very safe approach. What that means is we only use the data that is either licensed to us through Adobe's stock, where contributors are selling their content and giving the rights to us to train on their data. We don't use any contributor's data that they have marked as not trainable on, right? And then we also, on top of this, we license data from other data providers, either specifically going after specific reasons of adding an object or a visual into the data set, or because of some aesthetic considerations that we might want to increase that aspect in our data sets. We then use a large pipeline that basically takes this data, decorates it with a lot of metadata, including features that are baked into that metadata so that we can optimize the training time only for the main training blocks of the generative model we're interested in, and not necessarily pre-computing any embeddings that could have been pre-computed earlier. And then we bake all of that into GPU-optimized memory shards that basically, before the training starts, they know which GPU and which machine they're already going into, and they are extremely efficient, and they increase our training speed as well. All of that is also in a data lake that we can tap into and ask questions and do analysis and analytics as well. And then basically this goes back to our models that are trained on this data, goes back to our applications, gets integrated. There's user feedback data that's coming in, and then that gets fed back into the data that goes back into the training of the next generations as well. Before I close this off, I also want to talk about inference as well. Inference side of the world is fairly interesting. We do build our platform to increase utilization on the inference side as well, because this is where the margins are controlled, right? The higher the utilization, the more efficient and effective you're able to use and utilize your hardware, the larger margins that you can create potentially for the business. And also, in today's world, where GPUs are still a scarce resource, it can help you launch products at scale that you're otherwise not able to launch. So in our platform, we are quite GPU agnostic on the inference side. We can use, in an NVIDIA portfolio, we can use A10Gs, A100s, H100s for the same models inference. And we can tune the platform ourselves in a way that we can still meet the right SLAs, the right IPS levels with the application services that we are serving for. This is very critical for us because given, as I mentioned, the GPU scarcity that often shows up in different ways. One day you might be able to not necessarily get your hands on A100s really quickly, and you might need to support inference scale with A10Gs for a while, right? Or switching to different GPUs or different accelerators that are not necessarily NVIDIA-based. We also support this in our inference side of the platform as well. We do choose, whenever we can, for applications that are able to especially immediately return the results to the user and not require any batch or async APIs, we do use a stateless approach. So any instance that we are creating to be able to do inference, do some business logic on top of that, and then go back to the user is our instances that are completely stateless. So nothing lives on that instance given the customer data or their prompt or whatever we have generated for them. For the next customer, that instance is pristine, it's ready to go as soon as possible. So that helps us to be quite flexible in the way that we organize those hardware in the cloud as well. And so all of this, these elements that I talked to you about creates a flywheel for us, right? We are structuring ourselves and working on multiple different media in the generative AI space to be able to create our own models, integrate them with the Adobe product line on the creative side of the world, as well as the Document Cloud and the Marketing Cloud. And then this, the feedback from our users that comes back from those experiences that they are getting through our generative AI solutions feeds back into our development process again. So today, we believe Adobe is one of the places where generative AI is really making an impact on the user case, and we are super excited. So it's a really good time to innovate at Adobe, and we're hoping to lead the way in creative space, especially on generative AI. Thank you.